Okay, so tonight we're going to be looking at rotation and side extension, and we're especially going to be looking at how we can more efficiently use our large back muscles and engage our core muscles and try and avoid some of the lower back pain we can end up with rowing. So we'll also be looking a lot at extending right into the QL, the quadratus lumborum, which can really help us to have some preventative action on lower back pain from all the pulling and often our inefficient pulling in rowing. So as always, cameras on, cameras off, whatever makes you feel most comfortable. No rush to get up at the end when we do our relaxation and chanting. Feel free to leave your cameras off and just float into your evening if you want to. I'll just switch off the cameras and leave you to it. If you have any injuries, please really listen to your own bodies. Just back off. If you're experiencing pain, then it's not worth any further injuries. So just take whatever options suit you best tonight. I'll give lots of options with the blocks and such like. And yeah, enjoy your evening and let's eke out some of the relaxation in our bodies. So we're going to start off, I'm sitting in easy pose. So with my right foot in front of my left shin, you can have your legs whichever way around you like. Sometimes it's good to mix them up so that you don't get an imbalance. And I have a little block underneath my hips to encourage a real lengthening in my spine. And that's what we're looking for in this Samastitihi spine, really long, straight spine. Possibly slightly retracting your chin so that you feel the full extension of the cervical spine, elongating out of each vertebrae from the very, very base right up through the center and thoracic area of your spine, and allowing that cervical spine also to fly as if your crown was being pulled up by a little string and your tail was being weighted down below you. We're going to start with 3 gentle but deep breaths. So as you inhale, seeing if you can allow an expansiveness, a sense of space, sense of relaxation to come into the body. As you exhale, see if you can maintain that sense of ease, but also feel a conscious drawing in of the navel towards the spine as you flush all of the stale air out of the lungs. Inhaling, seeing if you can soften your belly, allow it to lift and expand. Exhaling or drawing the navel in towards the spine, flushing out the air, but still keeping that sense of ease. And last time, just as if you were inhaling to reach through a stroke and exhaling to drive, but still maintaining a sense of ease, a sense of length in the spine. Tail reaching down, cervical spine extending away, crown extending away. And the next inhale will be an inhale for Om. We're going to take that 4-part sound with a resonance of the Ah in the belly, the Ah in the chest space, the around the palate, getting the vibrations all through our body as we sit in the 4th part, the unstruck sound, where we let ourselves just get a sense of where we are before we begin our practice tonight. So inhaling all together. And just take a moment as you get a sense of those vibrations working their way through the body, to note any special areas where you've maybe got some tension that you could possibly wriggle into and release. Any areas where you might have to take a little care tonight. And any areas that you feel like you might want to work on a little bit as we go through the practice, and just really make the practice your own. I'll offer the guidance and ideas, and then you listen to your body and see what really feels good tonight. So we're going to start off with a couple of shoulder shrugs. So now, if it's comfortable for you, maybe closing your mouth and breathing in and out through the practice, just through your nose. And obviously you don't get any penalties if you take some mouth breath, but if you can find that inhale and exhale through the nose throughout the practice, it's a nice way to build up heat and detoxify the body. So as we inhale, we're going to shrug our shoulders right up towards our ears. As we exhale, we're going to see how far we can let them drop. Inhale to shrug them up. Exhale to release. And one last time, inhale, really feel like you're squeezing them up this time. You maybe even making a little fist, getting them all the way to the ears, and exhale and see how far they can drop away. And we're going to take a couple of neck rolls, so also getting into that area around the neck, around the tight upper shoulders. So as we inhale, we're going to lengthen that cervical spine. So we exhale, drop the right ear down towards the right shoulder and see if you can stop the left shoulder from trying to rise up to join it. Inhale to allow the head gently to roll towards the back, rolling all the way around towards your left shoulder. Again, feeling this stretch across the right trap. And as you exhale, allowing your head to roll forward very gently, very slowly. Again, until your right ear is reaching towards the right shoulder. See if you can encourage the left shoulder to drop down. And as you inhale again, letting the head roll very gently and slowly all the way around the back to the left side. And seeing if you can encourage the right shoulder to stay dropped. And as you exhale, rolling the head forward until you reach the center. Inhale to let your head come back up again. Maybe shake your shoulders off a little bit before we do this again on the other side. So inhaling to get tall, slight retraction in the chin to extend the cervical spine. Exhaling to drop the left ear down in the direction of the left shoulder. Watch that right shoulder. You don't have to push it down, but see if you can allow it to drop down. As you inhale, allow your head to roll around the back very gently, very slowly from left to right. Feeling the left shoulder, see if you can encourage it to stay relaxed and down. And as you exhale, rolling around the front from right and over to left. Remember, your head's very heavy, no sharp movements here. When you get to the left side, watch for that right shoulder, see if you can relax it. And as you inhale one last time, rolling the head back from left to right, see if you can encourage the left shoulder to stay relaxed. And as you exhale, rolling the head forward to the center and inhaling to sit up tall. And we're going to pop onto our knees to do a few cat-cows and start getting our spine moving. So in your cat-cows, we're looking to have our hands underneath our shoulders, spreading our fingers as wide as we can. So you might be popping the pinky finger down and seeing how much space you can make between that and the ring finger, and then into the middle finger, the index finger and the thumb. See how wide a span you can create here, and how much of a little suction pad you can make with your mat. You might even lift your heels and see if you can lift the heels of your palms and see if you can hear that suction with the mat. We call this Hastabandha, the hand seal, and it's really helpful to protect our shoulders and make sure that we're spreading our weight evenly in the posture. With our toes, we want to create a little foot seal. So imagining almost as if you'd painted these toes and you wanted to leave that imprint on your mat. So really pressing down with the toes and maybe noticing how as you press into the ground with the hands, using that seal of the hands. And as you press into the toes, you might get a little more lightness in your torso. See if while you're here, you can find a neutral position for your spine. So neither your bum sticking up, nor your bum tucking down, but as long and as neutral a spine as you can, with a sense of your tailbone reaching down to the back of your rib and the crown of your head being stretched in the opposite direction. Might still have that slight chin retraction, almost as if you were holding a wee ripe mango that you don't want to squash under your chin, so we keep the length in the back of the neck. On our next inhale, we're going to make our cow pose, dropping our belly, sucking our chest through the tops of our arms, and allowing our bum to point up a little towards the ceiling. As we exhale, we're going to start by tucking down the tail, drawing the navel in towards the spine and letting the head become heavy as we find real flexion in our spine, like a scared cat. We're going to inhale, allow that tail to release, the belly to drop, the chest to suck through your arms, almost with a sensation that the heels of your hands are drawing towards your knees, even though they're not moving, and we're actually clawing into the mat with the pads of our fingers, both the fingertips and the pads at the base of the fingers. Exhale, beginning by tucking our tail, sucking our navel towards our spine, seeing how heavy you can allow your head to be, and still pressing through the hands, through the toes as you find that flexion in the spine. And one last time, allowing the belly to drop, the tail to release, the chest to come through the arms. You might be looking up or you might be looking straight ahead. Exhale, allowing the tail to drop, the navel to suck in, the head to become heavy. And maybe you're going to come up this time right up into your fingertips and really explore how much flexion, how much space you can make between the vertebrae in this flex position. And then release into a tabletop position, and you can choose, you can still just using the mat, or if you do have a couple of books or blocks, that can be quite nice for this next exercise that we're going to do, is the spinal wave. So I'm taking a couple of blocks here. I actually like blocks or books here because I find when you do the opening at the front, it allows you to get that sense of the chest coming through the tops of the arms. And that can be quite helpful when you go back into the cat-cow again. So for a spinal wave, our hands are a little further forward than they would have been in the cat-cow. So you'll see my wrists are ahead of my shoulders this time. My toes are still pressing into the mat, and I might have to shuffle my hands to find the perfect position for this. My starting point here is that I'm going to take an inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to find something similar to the cat position we had, the flexion of the spine, the dropped head, the tucked tail. And I'm going to push through my hands to drive my hips in the direction of my heels. They may or may not meet there, and you may have to drag your blocks along with you till you find a position where, in what we call child's pose, where our hips are reaching in the direction of our heels and our arms are reaching away from us, our head is dropping in the direction of the floor, even if it's not reaching it, then you want to be in a position where your blocks are just at the position where the heels of your hands can sit comfortably with your elongated arms. Take an inhale wherever you are, and as you exhale, press through the hands, allow your hips to rise away from your heels, your tail to tuck, your navel to suck in. In the center, you're going to come through a position very like our cat position with that curve. But we're going to keep moving forward, allowing some weight to come into our hands as our hips keep traveling forward till we get to the point where we can't keep the curve in our spine anymore. We're going to let our hips drop, our chest reach through the tops of our arms. And again, you might be looking forward, or you might begin to look up towards the ceiling here. As you exhale, let your head
drop your chin, tuck your navel, reach towards your spine as you press through your hands, going again through that cat position with a real flexion of the spine. Keep the flexion for as long as you can, really drawing the navel in, tucking the tail, and using the hands to push your hips away in the direction of your heels. Take an inhale in this extended child's pose, and we're going to do it again. So as we exhale, we're going to press through our hands, push down, allow our bums to reach up and away as we move forward through that curve of the cat position. Our heads are still heavy. And as we move forward and the fronts of our thighs begin to reach more in the direction of the mat, then we'll find we can't keep the curve anymore. We let our hips drop. We let our arms extend, our chest reach forward. See how much you can open your chest. Let your shoulder blades slide down your back. And you might be gazing forward or gazing up to the ceiling if that's okay on your neck. And exhale, let your head come down, your chin tuck, head's heavy, navel sucking towards the spine. We're through that cat extension, find that flexion in the spine. Keeping the flexion as we drive with our hands to push our hips in the direction of our heels. And then when we get as far as our hips are going to go, then come down into your version of child's pose. Now in child's pose, it can be really nice to pop something. If your hips are not reaching your heels, they're not touching, it'd be really good to put maybe a cushion or a block between your hips and your heels, and then pad your hands back out ahead of you. Similarly with your head, if your head's not reaching the mat, it can be really nice to place your head on a block or on a cushion. And it's through the process of getting that sensation of the weighted hips in contact with the heels, even if it's through a cushion, and the weighted head in contact with the floor, again, even if it's on a block. It's through that process that our brains learn to let go. And then we find that actually we gradually reduce these props. Breathing in and out through your nose. And exploring if with each inhalation, you feel a little lengthening in your spine, with the hips reaching away from the crown. And with every exhalation, you can feel a release and a weightedness through the forehead and through the hips. If you have got a head underneath, a block underneath your head, you might want to move it away just now. We're going to do a little side extension through our child's pose. You could keep anything that you have between your bum and your hips. So from your current child's pose, we're going to begin to pad our fingers over towards the right hand side. So I'm just tiptoeing with my fingers over towards the right hand side. And as I'm doing that, I really want to explore how much I can keep the left hip reaching away and back. So the sensation that I want to feel is that I'm really making some space between the left hip and the left lower ribs. You might also be feeling some kind of extension across the left armpit, so opening up across the shoulders. But that side extension through from the left hip, really thinking about reaching the left hip away and back as you take your fingers over, front and over to the right. Feeling that space between the left hip and the left lower ribs is really where we're going to work into that QL and support our lower back. On your next inhale, pad your fingers back through the center. Maybe take a moment just to wriggle your hips a little side to side there. And we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So inhaling, we're going to walk our fingertips over towards the left side of our mat. just as far as is comfortable for you, or is just to an edge where you're aware that you're stretching, but you're not causing anything like pain. Again, we really, as we're inhaling and exhaling through our noses, we want a sense of the right hip sinking down and back. So it's still reaching towards the bottom of our mat. And we want to find as much space as we can between the right lower ribs and the right hips. Again, it's likely that you'll be feeling some of this extension across the right armpit. That's good. And see if you can think about the right shoulder blade, though, still sliding down your back rather than your shoulders crowding around your ears. One more inhale, one more exhale there. And on your next inhale, pad your way back to center. And we're going to walk our way up to kneeling on our mat. Now I'm going to come round to face you so you can see what I'm doing. If you really don't like kneeling, then feel free to go back to that easy pose or whatever seated posture suits you. And for some of you, you might like to put a little blanket underneath your knees if your knees get a little bit tender. So from here, we're going to take our side stretches. So I'm going to take my left hand onto the mat just beside my left hips, and I'm going to rotate my right palm up to face the ceiling. So my thumb's rotating towards the back of my mat as I open my palm to the ceiling, and on that inhalation, I'm reaching my right arm up and over. Same sense as you keep breathing in and out through your nose. See if you can get a sense of the right hip reaching down towards the floor. And the space you want to make is between the right hip and the right lower ribs. See if you can find some extension there. So it's not just all in the armpit. Take another inhale and exhale there at your own breath length. And on your next inhale, see if you can really take your fingertips as far away from you as you can. As you exhale, spin the palm down to face the floor and let your right hand come down to the mat. So we shifted there from an internal to an external to an internal rotation. So now I'm going to take my right hand onto the mat and open up my left palm to the ceiling. So really finding that external rotation in the left shoulder. Following through the inhale motion, I'm feeling my left hip reaching down towards the floor as my left fingertips are reaching up and away. Seeing if I can still explore that external rotation, almost spinning my pinky round. And have a sense of drawing the left shoulder blades down the body so my shoulders aren't crowding my ears. So you can find that extension between hip and ribs. And take one more inhale there. Exhale there. Next inhale, reaching out with the fingertips. Exhaling to spin the palm back down to face the floor. And letting it come down with some resistance back down to the ground, and maybe shaking out your shoulders there. So always seeing how much space we can create between the shoulders and the ears, often through using that rotation rather than just pulling up with our shoulders hunching up around our ears. I'm going to take a couple of seated twists. Again, if you want to alter your seated position, maybe cross-legged, feel free. I'm going to stay kneeling for this one. Then inhale to get really tall and take my left hand to the outside of my right knee. I want a sense of the rotation that we're going to do, beginning in the left hip. So with that inhalation, you've got tall. As I exhale, I'm going to suck my navel in towards my spine and spin from hip through belly, round ribs to rotate towards the back of the room, and my shoulders, neck, and head are last. Inhaling to get tall again. You might have your right hand at the base of your spine behind you.
and exhaling to suck the navel in and see if there's a little tiny bit more rotation, but feel it all the way from the left hip. Exhale and bring yourself back to center. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, feeling as if the rotation is coming all the way from the right hip rather than being led with the head and the neck. So I'm going to inhale to get tall, take my right hand to the outside of my left thigh, my left knee, and I'm going to exhale, feeling the rotation coming from the right hip through the navel as I suck the navel in, through my ribs, and my neck and head are last. I'm going to inhale to get tall there again. I'm going to drop my hand down behind me, my left hand down behind me. And as I exhale, I'm going to suck my navel in and see if there's a tiny bit more spiraling to be found all the way from the right hip. And then inhale, I'm going to let myself come back around to center and give everything a little bit of a shake off. And tonight, before we come up to our standing postures, we're going to do another couple of little exercises to get into the relationship between our shoulders and the use of our back and core muscles. We're going to take our hands and create a little basket, clasping our fingers behind our heads. And I'd like you just to explore letting your head be heavy into those hands. So you might notice immediately as you do that, either you try and lean right back, see if you can avoid that, use your core to keep yourself straight, but let your head be heavy into your palms. And you might notice that you start to get a bit of a strain here on the outer parts of your armpits, basically. So I'd like you just to explore what it feels like if you mentally think of sucking your shoulders into their sockets. So think of really taking the head of this upper arm bone and sucking it into the shoulder socket as you let the weight of the head rest in the hands. And I hope that you'll find that there's just a little bit less strain on this outer edge of the armpits if you allow the shoulder to be more girdled and to take that effort. If you inhale there, exhale to squeeze your elbows together. Again, still thinking about trying to keep these shoulders in their sockets. Inhale to open up, let your head be heavy, but the shoulders staying in the sockets, not the elbows leading here. And exhale to squeeze the elbows together, but the shoulders still staying in their sockets. And then release and give your arms a little bit of a shake out. I'm going to do one last exercise here, again, looking at this relationship with the shoulders and the opening and closing spirals of the shoulders. I'm going to inhale to open that right arm up again, palm facing up towards the ceiling, thumb rotating towards the back of your mat, and let that arm rise up beside your head. And then as you exhale, drop the palm of that hand down towards the back of your body. It might not go very far, that's absolutely fine. Then taking your left arm, we're going to internally rotate. So turn the palm to face towards the floor and allow it to keep rotating. Let the thumb lead with that internal rotation of the shoulder. And then bend that arm at the elbow and let the back of the left hand reach up the back of your body. Now, for some of you, your fingertips might easily meet. For lots of us, that's not the case. And it can be really good here to grab one part maybe of your t-shirt, upper and lower, and use them to have a little traction to draw the two sets of fingertips towards one another. But what I'd really like you to do here is, instead of straining and pushing on the elbows, can you imagine sucking the shoulders into their sockets again? And see if you notice here that you actually get more movement of the fingers towards each other And be aware there's no pressure to get them towards each other here. And you don't want to be straining on your neck and pushing your head out of joint. So just wherever you reach, but get a sense of what a difference it makes if you allow the shoulders to integrate into their sockets instead of working against them. One last inhale and exhale here, and then release and shake them off before we do that on the other side. So for rowers, this one's really important because if you think about both the extension and the rotation that we do in the rowing stroke, what we don't really want to do is to pull the shoulder into its weakest position and out of its socket. So learning how to integrate the shoulder into the socket is both stronger and safer. It's stronger because it allows you to connect the movement all through the strong back muscles instead of in this rather weak position of the shoulder. And it's safer because it helps us to avoid rotator cuff damage. So much as this one isn't always everybody's favorite exercise, it's a great way to learn how to integrate the shoulders and have that stronger and safer movement. So we've had a little rest. We're going to do it on the other side. So as we inhale, we're going to open up the left palm, supinating that palm, externally rotating the shoulder. So with the thumb spinning towards the back of the room, and allow that arm to reach up and overhead. So we exhale. We're going to drop the palm of the left hand down in the direction of our backs behind our heads. With the right arm, as we inhale, we're going to spin the palm down towards the floor, thumb leading and spiraling around as we internally rotate the right shoulder. When we've gone as far as we comfortably can, we're going to bend the right elbow and let the back of the right hand land somewhere towards our backs of our bodies. Again here, some people will find this is quite natural. They might have quite long limbs and they can quite easily find the fingers of both hands. I'm quite long-limbed on my arms, so that one's not so challenging for me. But for lots of us, this one's a really challenging position. So a great thing to do is either get a strap, something like a dressing gown strap can be really good if you're practicing this. Take one end in each hand and just gently, gently find that movement of the fingertips towards each other. Or again, grabbing one part of your t-shirt with the bottom hand, one part with the top hand can give you a little bit of traction there. Most important, whatever you're doing, see if you can not strain with the elbows and push them towards each other, but really think about integrating the shoulders into their sockets, releasing any pressure on the back of your head and any sense of your neck being jutted forward. Last inhale, last exhale, and release and shake them all out. We're going to stay lowish on the mat in a halfway house. We'll do a little bit of a side extension from an extended kneeling position. So I'm going to keep in a high kneeling position with my left leg, and I'm extending my right leg out along the mat. I have my foot flat on the floor and my toes are facing broadly forward. You might find it useful if you use a block or a cushion to have one at the side of your left leg, because that's quite good when we lean over in that direction, or you can just reach over to your mat. So we're going to inhale, reach both arms out towards the side. As we exhale, I'm going to drop the right hand in the direction of the right thigh, supinate and open the palm of the left hand. Allow that left hand to reach up and over, still thinking of the left hip as if it was being weighted down towards the ground, pressing through the outside of our right foot to give us some stability and feeling like our left fingers are being stretched away. Take an inhale and an exhale there. The feeling as if you are stretching between the left hip and extending the space to the left lower ribs. On your next inhale, come back through center, extending your arms out in both directions. As you exhale, I'm going to take my left hand onto the block. You could also take it onto the mat and allow my right hand again supinating, spinning it round, maybe almost feeling like the pinky is trying to reach towards the back of the room. And I'm trying to find as much extension as I can this time between the right hip and the right lower ribs. As you inhale and exhale, see if you can press through the outside of the right foot and allow your fingers to reach away. On your next inhale, come back through center, reaching your hands out in both directions. Shake off your hands, come through your knees, maybe wriggle your hips, and we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So I'm setting up my block at the right side. There's going to be my high kneeling position. I'm going to keep on my right leg, and I'm going to extend my left leg out to my side. So again, the foot's flat on the mat. I'm using that to really give me some support. So I'm feeling like I'm grounding in on my right knee and on my left foot, right to the outside of the foot. I'm going to inhale to reach my arms out towards the side. As I exhale, I'm going to allow my left hand to drop down onto my left thigh as my right hand spirals into an opening external rotation, palm up, pinky spinning around, and that right arm reaches up and over. See if you can feel the space between your right hip and the right lower ribs. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to relax into and deepen the extension. And then your next inhale, come back through center, arms reaching wide. And as we exhale, we're going to let our right hand drop either onto the mat or onto the block, pressing through the left foot, opening up the left arm through that spiral, pinky whirling round as if you were trying to almost make that palm look towards the back of the room. Feeling the stretch between the left hips and the left lower ribs. With every inhale, lengthening away with the fingers, pushing through the outside of the left foot. Every exhale, seeing how much you can let that release happen. And then inhaling to come back through center, arms wide, and release. Shake off your hands, and we're going to make our way to standing at the tops of our mats. So, as always, we're going to do a couple of half sun salutations to get ourselves into the sense of the reach and the forward fold. And then we're going to go through just a little lunge flow sequence tonight. So finding yourself standing mindfully at the top of your mat, your toes might be touching with your heels slightly apart, or you might like to have your feet hip distance apart. Wherever you are, really finding the sense of the weight coming through your heels, spreading your toes as wide as you can, and allowing yourself to feel as if you're evenly distributing the weight through your feet. Drawing up through your insteps, through your inner calves, your inner thighs, finding that neutral pelvis position, and allowing the weight in your tailbone and lightness in your upper spine, cervical spine, and your crown. It's like tucking your chin, a real sense of lightness and drawing away through the crown and weightedness in the tail. Shrugging the shoulders down, externally rotating the shoulders, letting the palms face the front of the room. Sun salutation A, Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, arms float up, maybe gaze to thumbs. Exhale, diving forward. You might want to bend your knees for this first one. Let your head be heavy and your hips high. Inhale, lengthening. Find the spine parallel to the mat. You might have your hands on your calves or on your thighs here. And exhale to release your head. Let it be really heavy. And as you inhale, really pushing through the feet. You might have a slight bend in your knees as you roll up one vertebrae at a time to standing. Allow your arms to float up, maybe gazing to your thumbs, and exhaling back to Samasthiti. One more time, just like that. Inhale, hands up. Maybe gaze to thumbs. Exhale, dive forward, head heavy, hips high. Inhale, drawing your navel in towards your spine, lengthening out parallel to the mat, maybe looking up. Exhale, dropping your head, letting it be weighted. Inhale, really press through the feet. Use that resistance to allow you to roll up one vertebrae at a time, all the way to standing, shrugging the shoulders down, externally rotating the arms and letting them float up above your head, and exhaling back to Samasthiti. We're going to follow that again, but we're going to go into the full sun salutation. Inhaling, arms up, maybe gaze to thumbs. Exhale, navel in towards the spine, head heavy. Inhale, lengthening parallel to the mat, maybe hands on calves or thighs. Exhaling, we're going to let our head be heavy, weight come into our hands, and we're going to step back through high plank, and you might be lowering your knees to the mat as we come down with our bellies onto the mat. Stretch the toes out, press through the feet, hands either side of the chest as we inhale, pressing through the pubic bowl, and allow our chest to come away from the floor through cobra. Exhale, take the weight into the hands. You might come through tabletop today. Tuck your heels and push your hips up and away into our first downward facing dog. As it's our first one, you really might want to find some movement here. Maybe bend one knee, bend the other knee, shuffle your hips side to side. And when you feel ready, find a place where you can maybe be still just for a couple of breaths. Your knees might be generously bent. Fingers are spread. We're wrapping our armpits round towards our ears, letting the shoulder blades open, lengthening our spine. One last inhale there. And on your exhale, we're going to lift our right foot to draw it in towards our left foot. So both of our feet are together at the back of our mats. On our inhale, we're going to lift our right foot up gently behind us. It doesn't have to be high. As we exhale, you're going to draw that right knee towards the outside of the right elbow. So really finding your core strength there. Inhale to let the foot rise up behind you again in three-legged dog. Exhale, suck that right knee towards the inside of the left elbow. Inhale to reach up behind you again in three-legged dog. And exhale, this time suck the knee right as if you were trying to draw it up towards your nose. And release back into downward facing dog. And you might want to pad out your knees here, lengthening your hamstrings, maybe shaking off your wrists if you find that's a lot on your wrists. And when you're ready, drawing both of your feet towards one another again. And as we inhale, we're going to lift the left leg this time. As we exhale, we're going to draw that right knee right up towards the left elbow, using our core strength. As we inhale, we're going to release that left leg back into three-legged dog. As we exhale, we're going to draw the left knee towards the inside of the right elbow. As we inhale, we're going to release it up behind us. Again, it doesn't have to be high. As we exhale, we're going to draw that knee towards our nose. And this time we're going to drop the foot onto the mat. So we find ourselves in a lunge position, and we might want to shuffle our left foot a little forward until it comes between our hands at the front of the mat. And here you've got a choice. You can stay in a raised back knee position and find a high lunge. If you do choose to do that, you want to really think about your core strength and about drawing your two inner thighs towards one another to increase your balance. Or it's always a perfect option to drop the back knee. Whatever you're in, with a raised or a lowered knee, we're going to do a little rotation. So as we take our left hand, we're going to place it at the outside of our left foot and inhale our right arm up as we twist. Exhale to release and place the right hand at the inside of the right foot, right beside the instep, and inhale our left hand up for a rotation. Exhale to bring both hands down and come up into a raised lunge. Again, you could still have your knees, your back knee raised if you're finding you've got your balance. And we're going to open our right arm towards the back of the room, over our back, bent back right leg, and our left arm reaching out towards the front. Exhale to frame your front foot with both of your hands. Step your left foot back into high plank and push back into a downward facing dog. From there, we're going to inhale our left foot up and exhale our left knee towards our nose. Inhale that left foot back up and replace it beside the right foot in downward facing dog. The next inhale, we're going to inhale the right foot up. Inhale that right knee towards our nose. And this time we're going to drop the right knee, the right foot down onto the mat between the front hands. And again, you choose from this lunge position whether you want to keep your left knee high and come to a balance here for your rotations, or if you want to drop your left knee to the mat and take your rotations from there. We're going to take our left hand to the inside of our right foot and inhale our right hand up for a twist. Exhale to bring your right hand to the outside of your right foot and inhale to open up on the left hand side, finding that rotation. And then padding our way up to an upward lunge, a raised lunge, again, choosing whether your back knee is straight or bent. And we're going to open our left arm over our lower left leg and extend our right fingers towards the front of the room. So we're opening our chest in that rotation. Exhale, bring your hands down to frame your front foot, tuck your back toes and step your right foot back through high plank, up into downward facing dog. And then you can drop yourself onto your knees and make yourself your own way back to a position of lying down on the mat. So I'm going to shuffle my bum to one side, stretch out my feet in front of me, and I'm going to use this moment to massage my spine on the way down. So I've got my hands on either side of my calves, My feet are in full contact with the floor. I'm going to inhale to get tall. And as I exhale, I'm drawing my navel towards my spine and very gently and very slowly allowing myself to come down to the mat, one vertebrae at a time. Real sense of the two inner thighs drawing towards one another. I'm finding myself on the mat. And from there, I'd suggest bringing your knees in towards your chest and giving yourself a really big hug. Maybe rolling around a little on the lower spine, giving it a little bit of a massage until that area around the sacrum, the sacroiliac joint, where we often feel a lot of discomfort. And a really great thing to do here can be to take your hands onto your knees and allow your knees to drop away from you, from that hug, allowing your arms to extend and then finding some little circles there that can allow you to really get the massage into the lower back rather than the middle back. And when you've had enough of that massage, maybe dropping your feet onto your mat about hip distance apart, just spaced so that you can't quite touch your heels with your fingertips. And if you do have blocks or books or a really sturdy cushion nearby, they can be quite nice for this. They're not essential, but they can be quite nice. So we're going to do a supported bridge, spreading the weight throughout our feet. So really, even if you don't find it easy to spread your toes, if you can get the mental picture of spreading your toes in the same way as we did with our hands in cat-cow, so almost going right from the little baby toe to the big toe and seeing how much space you can make between them. Finding an even spread of weight through the base of the feet. And as we inhale, we're going to imagine we're pressing our knees right away over our toes. And as we do that, can allow our quite soft glutes to rise and for a stretch to emerge across the front of the hip flexors. And as you rise here, you might find you even want to walk your shoulders a little bit underneath you. Palms facing upwards, sense of drawing your inner thighs towards one another. And some of you might enjoy clasping your hands beneath you, but only do that if that's not a strain on the shoulders. If you do have a block here or a cushion or something that could give you some support, it can be very nice to find the flat part of your sacrum and allow that to rest on a block or a book or a cushion. And that can sometimes allow you to walk your shoulders in a little more. Even though you're not now got the weight in your feet, still imagine you're sucking your inner thighs towards one another. And with every inhale, see how much expansion you can find in the chest, across the front of the belly and the thighs. With every exhale, how much can you release into any support that you're using? One more inhale, one more exhale there. If you are using any kind of support, take the weight into your feet, pressing your feet into the mat, lift your hips a little and very gently remove the support. And then allow yourself to come down very slowly, one vertebrae at a time, maybe walking your shoulders out a little first until you find yourself all the way down on the mat. And from here, you're choosing some form of inversion, maybe shuffling your bum towards the wall, letting your legs be up the wall. It can be really lovely. Or maybe your feet lying on a low table or a chair. It's also nice to maybe take a dead bug, hands and feet up, pointing towards the ceiling, rotating our wrists or rotating our ankles. Or maybe take a happy baby, where you allow your arms to come through the middle of your legs and wrap around, maybe taking the outsides of the calves or the feet, and having a sense of your feet driving up towards the ceiling, your arms resisting, your shoulders down. Seeing if you can maybe keep your sacrum down on the floor rather than letting it curl up. And all that work we've been doing in the QL, might be nice to have a little massage of that sacrum from a happy baby position. And whenever you're ready, release your inversion and make yourself comfortable in whatever position you would like to take your relaxation in tonight. So you could stay with your feet up the wall or your feet on a low table or sofa, or you could lie down, let your arms drop out to the side, your feet drop out to the side. Get yourself cozy and comfy. And wherever you are, see if you can allow yourself to become fully weighted. If you can allow yourself to really surrender the weight of your body to the ground. Letting go of the effort. Letting go of any control of the breath. There's no need anymore to breathe only through your nose. Just find your own natural and comfortable breath. And then maybe gently working through your body from head to toe. Seeing if you've got any parts of the body you could use the breath to release a little further. Sending a gentle breath to any areas where there still might be some tension. Maybe right at the base of the skull, at the top of the shoulders, and in between your shoulder blades. Your belly, your solar plexus, you let it all release with every breath. Your jaw, you drop your tongue. Release around the eye sockets. That little space between the eyebrows. Use your breath to release and let go. And your hips and pelvis. You allow the full weight of your thigh bones to sink, really to be surrendered into the ground. There's nowhere to go, it's supporting you completely. And backs of your calves and your heels, see how much weight you can allow there to be there. And again, just very gently scanning for any areas where you're still holding yourself up. What could you release? And then again, just very gently, not with any judgment, seeing where there are areas of lightness in the body. Maybe across your cheekbones, your sternum, the ribs as they rise and fall with the breath. You feel a sense of lightness at the crown, across your brow. Maybe from the tips of your toe across the top of your feet, your shins. Spreading down from your shoulders, down your arms, into your wrists, and the backs of your hands, the palms of your hands. Om. Svasni prajabhyaha paripalayantam nyayena margena mahimaheshaha go brahmanebhyaha shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You'll all be well. You'll all be happy. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you have a really restful evening.